the whole idea of like a societal construct is pretty like meta, because the whole idea of these constructs that we all believe in as a society, like we do them not because we actually care about our neighbor, but because we want to look like we care about our neighbors so that we don't get ousted by other neighbors. And it's not even like, so it's really just selfish, like like what enlightened, what do you call it?
Enlightened self-interest.
Enlightened self-interest, right? And that's all society is to me. It's just there's no. It starts off completely inorganic on that level already, but we all
Right.
look like we want to help each other because we don't want to look like the bad guy. But as soon as crap hits the fan, we all go running off in our own directions. It's dog eat dog. It's loot time. It's all that, right? It's not like we come together and say, hey, let's solve this problem together, like what we tried to make it look like we would have done before all this happened, right? So that's another dark side of reality there.
Yeah, well, in other words, you're saying that most of us still feel entitled to the fruits of someone else's labor because we've felt entitled to a certain level of convenience, and this whole conspicuous consumerism culture that we have in the U.S. and in a lot of U.S.-influenced countries, even in Asia, like South Korea, Japan might be, and other countries might be on this same gravy train of trying to keep up with conspicuous consumerism in some sense. But at some point, I mean, it creates a level of dishonesty loops that you wonder how long it can be sustained, really, because anything that is incongruence or not truthful eventually cracks at some point, and then there's some dissonance that eventually ends up breaking everything so that it falls apart. And it's only really a matter of getting closer in congruence with each other, or otherwise things will eventually fall apart within a few generations, I think, because some people will feel a little more entitled to things than others, and that creates transactions that are in bad will or ill will, where somebody feels like they lost out on the transaction for long enough that eventually they don't agree to disagree or whatever. They don't just smile and take it, and then they instead stage some revolution at some point, or at least lash out on some local level and cause a lot of havoc. Because a lot of people are very unhappy with how a lot of transactions go in modern society, in modern economy, with modern economics advantaging the few, and everybody agreeing that, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people thinking that there's a large amount of concentrated wealth in the hands of a few who have made some crucial decisions that have gained them a lot of wealth, but that they could not have exponentially provided really from themselves, from the fruits of their own labor, and instead have relied on earnings from being the CEO of some company. And a lot of people tend to root against CEOs and billionaires, although they would like to enjoy the fruits of their so-called labor and all the goods that they produce from their companies. But it's like, how do we know who's worth however much? And it really pains some people to see some others be really rich, and some people believe that nobody really deserves to be rich at all, and they believe that we should go and loot or even assassinate those who have too much wealth without feeling like they've given enough back, I guess, and that some people could never possibly give enough back for what they've already been given. So it's a weird balance where we're okay with it, but most people are at the same time not okay with the current system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there like the Sultan of Brunei or something that can buy out like any small nation or like groups of small nations. Like they can probably buy out like the lowest 80 nations like in terms of GDP like easily, but are they actually going out there and supporting them? No, it's like they just sit at home probably and have like this thought in their heads like, oh yeah, I could make a difference, but are they really doing it? No. And so, but then the question is, do they deserve to die? Right? But I don't know if I'll ever go as far as to say anyone deserves to die. I don't think I'm that kind of person, but I could see why society would view an organism like that, like a one single organism that is capable of helping possibly up to a billion or billions of organisms elsewhere, that just sits there and doesn't do it and just like has all this untapped. It has all this potential that is potentially untapped, right? It's like, well, if you're going to convince the world that money is worth anything, and then just take all of it, basically take what every organism in the world organically knows as worth, as self-worth. You're basically taking that, right? Because ultimately what we're doing, we're just like trying to value ourselves by working and getting a salary, right? So, well, if you're convincing everyone to enter this world and accept this world where we work for our money, and then you take it all and not give back, you're basically just like literally sucking souls out of people, like right? Like, I don't know, it just sounds petty, but that's kind of how I see it, and I guess, yeah, that one organism deserves to no longer exist. It is a bane in the rest of every other organism's existence, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, from the proletariat side of that point of view, yes, certainly. However, when it comes to sucking the soul out of someone, don't you kind of have to sell your soul in order for them to take it from you? I mean, you kind of, and this goes into spirituality, and there's all kinds of theories on that, obviously, going back millennia, so who knows if I'm getting this right about anything, but supposedly you have to have demons be receptive. You have to be receptive to the spirits in order for them to convene or take you or whatever. Otherwise, you cannot be taken. So you have to agree to it to show up at the job, to sell your soul for the salary, for the hourly wage or whatever, in order to give your time away for them to make more money than they're giving you, right?
I'm pretty meta about that. I think that I believe in the illusion of freedom of choice. I believe that illusion is also propagated by whatever this demon or Satan character is. It's like the belief that all you have to do is agree, is to not agree to sign a deal with the devil, and therefore you'll be safe. But then that idea is also planted in your head by the devil himself. So, you know what I mean? Like, right? So even though you think you're not doing it, that idea is also propagated by this demonic thing itself. So you're still playing this game no matter what, right? Like,
right. The derivative levels are just further and further down things with the id and the ego and the superego, like just going deeper and deeper into your instincts. Right. And if there is a demonic entity that goes back millennia or eternally or whatever, then it would already have all those frequencies and nodal vibration points where it would already be able to tap into deeper and deeper derivatives of what you think you're getting away with relative to your own free will. And superimposing its free will onto what it would convince you was your free will.
Right. Exactly. So it doesn't matter if you think you're playing the game or not, or you want to play it or you're not, or not. It's like you are playing it. So it's a kind of really dark way of seeing it. But at what, like you said, at what level do you know you're actually making your own decisions, right? Like, so anyway, it's like the most demonic thing would be like we're not making any decisions, and we're just watching this reality, quote unquote, play out in front of us, and we're forced to see and experience all the things that we're experiencing, right? And we're even in the moments where we're thinking we have free thought, we were forced to think we have free thought in those moments. So anyway.
Well, at that point, that's getting into the idea of like, what's the difference between God and the devil at that point? It's like these super powerful supernatural entities that are controlling supposedly the definitions of good and bad and influencing both paths of trying to get you on the good side versus trying to get you on the bad side. And it's like, how do you know if they're like infinitely powerful or like supernaturally powerful enough to influence all humans like ethereally? Then how would you even know to start or know whether you were on the good side or bad side? If we're going along this path, how would you know if anything you do is your own free will, right? Because at that point, the whole justice system collapses because it's all about pleading insanity in order to get out of being convicted of anything, right? And it's like, oh, well, the demons told me to do it, or God told me to do it, so it's the right thing, It's like really hard to, at some point, define what we're even talking about when it comes to free will, because this is another debate, right? It's like, do we have it? I would say no, in the sense that we are all one, and therefore there's only one will, so it's not our free will. It's the duty that we have to follow the free will of the whole, which is nature, which is whatever, God and the devil or whatever combined, just the whole yin yang, like the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And so we don't, but we have to pretend that we do in order to be able to punish outsiders that are not ourselves, that are going against what we think is good. But if we're all one, then there is no outsider. There's only one individual universe and one nature that is just vibing with itself and trying to come to some kind of consistency or figure out what it is, I guess. So,
right.
Yeah,
that's all it is. I mean, when the first human felt a negative emotion or negative vibes versus a positive one, it just wanted to describe it, and probably most human civilizations landed on some sort of religious sort of figure, like some sort of higher being, because every human themselves, from within themselves, couldn't decide between this angel and devil thing. This the thing that we're basically talking, yin yang, angel, devil. It's always, there's both in us, right? It's like I guess there's still beliefs out there that say, yeah, like the angel and the devil, they're both within every single person, and then we just choose in each moment to let one of them out, right? And I believe in that more than I believe in, like, most other religions or stuff like that. But like, basically, yeah, you have both energies in you. You feel them both, and you have the ability to control them. But the moment you, like, I don't know, you release your own, like, I don't know, accountability over your own emotions, and then just say, oh, like, why? Oh, the devil must have, like, taken over me or something. I must have been, like, I don't know, I need an exorcism or something like that. It's like, no, you just need to, like, calm down and, like, assess your emotions and, like, get over it or something, is how I would look at it. But obviously there's a lot of people who would be offended by that.
Well, because some people would come up with, oh, that was not me, that was Jeff, someone who's not me. I'm not named Jeff. Let's say that was Jeff, that's my bad side or whatever. Or that was Mr. Hyde instead of Dr. Jekyll, right? It's like, well, that wasn't me. That was the bad side of something that's inside me. And it's like, wait, isn't that just you? Just the bad side of me? It's still you, right? The moment you try to, like, separate out entities from reality that are within yourself, it's like, what do you know about anything, even your own identity at that point? It's like, there might as well be infinite numbers of you with infinite personalities that come out in every moment. It's like, oh, well, one time I missed the three-pointer, another time I missed it, and then the third time I made it. So it's like, oh, that's three of me, because the left side one was the first one, and then I missed it right, or then I missed it short, and then I hit the rim, like, and then it went in. So, like, that's four different counts of me that all existed with those different trajectories of that ball that I shot towards the rim. And it's like, wait, isn't that just, like, you finding out who you are through, like, this statistical measure of however well you can place this ball in this hoop? Like, it's all still you. Or you could say there's arbitrarily large number of you in any immeasurably small, like, infinitesimal Planck time moment or something, right?
Right. I mean, it's basically, yeah, like, and I agree with that. It's basically like, how much accountability do you want over your actions? It's like, oh, very little. Okay, yeah, just make up even more personalities. And like, I was that level of awkward in that group conversation there. Oh, that must have been Tommy talking, like, and it's like, oh man, just admit that, you kind of messed up a little bit, and you try a little harder or something in this social environment, and then, like, just get over it, and then take accountability and fix it so it doesn't happen again. But then, like, people with all this, like, dissociative identity disorder stuff, okay, I don't want to, like, say that it's not a real thing. I'm sure it's, there's all these clinical studies that say it's real, but it just looks like what you're saying, which is, oh, I'm just gonna, like, attach these names to all these moods that I have, and then they simply are very imaginative, right? And they're very consistently imaginative people from when they were kids or something, and they just got diagnosed with this mental disorder as kids, therefore validating that they have, that it is correct for them to assign all these different identities to their emotions, and then go into adulthood that way. And then, it's just, like, really hard to reverse that at that point. It's really hard to tell someone like that, hey, all of that is just you, right? Like, you saying you're blacking out, and, like, whenever Mary shows up, it's like, no, I think you're just like trying really, really hard to have selective memory or something. Like I'm sure you can train that in yourself. Like,
I mean, yeah, you can train any kind of belief system into anyone at this point. We know basically at this point, right? And if you focus on something, it will become this really old long-term memory that you wouldn't even question any more than anything else. It could be the most basic thing about reality that you know to be true just because you've been thinking in those patterns and creating those neural pathways in your head for so long, just from vibing with the electrical pathways on the synapses and all, right? It might be that it has more synaptic connections along that modal vibration in your brain than any other. So it could be literally the thing that you know is most true out of anything because you're just thinking about it all the time, and you use that brain cell connection so often that it's like plastically stuck in your head to the point where you would have a harder time convincing someone that, you know, the earth was flat or something than that they didn't have these personality disorders, these separate personalities that are actual different people inside of them. So for sure it could be easily seen that someone diagnosed with some kind of disorder from childhood could end up thinking it was like some fundamental truth about themselves. And it's just really hard to tell the difference, right? What's the difference between these disorders, demonic possession, split personalities, and whether just the number of identities we have is fixed at one or not? I guess at this point, we do not agree that an individual is one person because we have this super fluidity with respect to people's identities nowadays.